Welcome back to the Big and Little Crochet blog, and what we're going to be doing today is hexagon number 2, the granny hex. Now this is called the granny hex because it's a bit like a traditional granny square pattern, and we're going to use the new blush yarn that we got today, lovely soft cotton, isn't it, and some leftover slate and rose from issue number 1, and we start off with the blush, and we're going to make a chain of 6. So take the yarn from the inside of the ball, so start off with a slip stitch, and we're going to make 6 chains and join them with a slip stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and if you do lose count, you can count them along here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You count the little V's, but don't count the one that's actually on the hook. And then we're going to go back into that very first one and do a slip stitch. That is, pull the long length of yarn right through both stitches. And then the next round is trebles, so we're going to do 3 chains to start off and 2 trebles into the ring. And then we're going to do 3 chains and 3 trebles, and that's the pattern: 3 chain, 3 trebles all the way round until you've got 6 little lots. Of course, these will be your corners. So 3 trebles here, then another 3 chain. So we're joining up with a slip stitch at the end of that first round. So we start off this second round with a 3 chain and then 2 trebles back into this space here. I know it seems a bit like you're going backwards, but that's how it works. It'll look okay. And then we're going to have 3 trebles in this next space, so you skip all the stitches in between. Then 3 chain and another 3 treble into that same space, and you might have to push your other stitches up to make way for it. 2, 3, and then you leap off to the next corner. So you're only doing your stitches into these 3 chain spaces. So when you get to the end of that round, we need to do another 3 treble into that first space, 3 chain, and then join with a slip stitch to the top of your original 3 chain, like that. And we can fasten off the blush because we're going to change colour. Okay, so that's where we are so far. I can trim this off too. Okay, so the slate yarn next, and we're going to join it to any 3 chain space. So I'll make a little slip stitch again. So at the beginning of the third round, we do a 3 chain and then 1 more treble into that same corner space, and we're going to do 3 trebles into this bit in between the groups of trebles from the row below, and then the corner has only groups of 2 treble. So when you come over to this this first corner, we'll do 2 trebles, and then 1 chain and another 2 treble, and then we leap over to this gap in the middle of the row again and do 3 trebles there. And you keep doing that all the way around. So at the end of our 3rd round, we need to do 2 trebles into that last space and a chain before joining with a slip stitch to that 3rd chain, and we can fasten off the slate, and next round we're going to pick up the blush again. It's much more difficult to work the ends in on a granny pattern because there are these gaps, so we may have to sew them in the old-fashioned way with a needle. So here we are with our blush, and we're going to do the same pattern on the next round as we did on the last. So let's start at any corner space, and I've got my slip stitch, and 1, 2, 3 chains and a treble into that corner space, and then 3 trebles into this space and the next one. So of course there are 2 spaces on this round because the sides are bigger than they were. So 3 trebles there and 3 trebles into this one, and then in the corner it's the same thing again. We're going to do 2 trebles and 1 chain. So the corners are slightly skinnier on these later rounds, aren't they, than they were earlier on. So keep doing that all the way round. So at the end of that round we're going to join with a slip stitch, and we can fasten off the blush because we're going to join on some of the nice rose pink for our final round. And the final round is in half trebles, so panic ye not. I will run through a half treble with you. Start off again with a slip stitch. Other methods of joining colours are available. So let's start at a corner. So I'm going to put the hook through the corner space, get my adjusted slip stitch and pull it through. And we start off with a 2 chain and half treble into that same space. So half treble. Oh, shall I show you that again? So you go 2 chain, yarn over, pull the yarn back, and you've got 3 loops on your hook, and then you yarn over again and you go through all 3 of them. So it's just that first bit of a treble. Then we're going to go over to this space here, and we're going to do 3 half trebles all in that same space. So it's the same principle as the previous row, where there's 3 stitches in each of those gaps, and of course there's 3 gaps this time instead of just 1 or 2, and then half trebles all the way along. And when you get to the corner, we're going to do 3 half trebles, 2 chain and 3 half trebles. So that's 3 half trebles in each stitch along the side, and then in the corner space here we're going to do 3, 2 and 3. So here's 1, 2, 3, and then 2 chain and another 3 half treble. It's a bit of a squeeze to get it all in there. And there's your corner, and it gives it a nice little edging. Oh, and now the sun's come out. Can't complain. So at the end of that last round, I've done another 3 half trebles into that corner space, 2 chains, and we join with a slip stitch in the second of the 2 chains that you did at the beginning, and we can fasten off. Now unfortunately we've got quite a lot of ends here, so I've got my trusty blunt needle and I'm going to sew in some of the ends. So some of them I've left a bit short, so I hope there's going to be enough space. There we are. If I just thread it through underneath some of these other stitches, that's probably enough. And someone showed me this great way of threading a needle so that it doesn't split. So you bend the thread over the end of the needle and then pop it through like that. Cool, isn't it? So there we are, and that's square, it's not a square, hexagon number 2 done.